What's up everybody, welcome back to 2nd Street. So the Fox and Disney merger is getting ready to come to a close very soon, and there's been so much speculation about how the X-Men will be introduced into the MCU, and that's what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Thank you all so much for tuning into the 2nd Street Marvel today. Now make sure you stay to the end where I will shamelessly plug some products and services and flap my gums about how to get entered into a giveaway that I will be doing very soon. So make sure you're subscribed and stuff. Now, as I was saying, soon the Fox and Disney merger should be coming to a close, and the X-Men and other properties will be getting introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And there's been a lot of speculation about exactly how this is going to happen, and I want to make a little bit of sense of it and give you my thoughts on how I think that they will introduce all these characters into the MCU. Now, I do have maybe two scenarios in which I believe that this may happen. The first one involves Fox itself. Let's just say, maybe for instance, Disney doesn't decide to break up this property and gut it. Maybe they decide to keep all those studios in place, keep people employed, and kind of make their own little changes along the way, of course. I mean, that wouldn't be anything that I wouldn't expect them to do, even if they did keep everybody in place. But let's just say perhaps they kept this property separate and continued doing what they were doing. This opens the door for them to continue making the movies that they were already making, though they may decide to reboot them. But it would allow them to keep making the same kind of movies that they have been making, a little bit darker, a little bit grittier. But to me, I think this is a good idea, as it leaves them open to the possibility of just doing crossovers. So they kind of keep basically all the assets where they're at, got everybody doing and continuing to do the work that they do, basically with Kevin Feige kind of overlooking it all. I mean, let's look at what Kevin Feige has done so far, just given his history. So, you know, you gotta think they're gonna put their trust into Kevin Feige to probably bring all of these properties together if they decide to go that route. Now, to me, this does just make sense. Like I said, they've got people that have been working on it for a long time, and that may be part of the reason why they want to scrap this idea. But to me, if you ask me, they've got all the people there, they've been putting in the work, they haven't been doing bad work, it's just they will make some tweaks and change things and continue to move forward. To me, this just makes a lot of business sense to absorb this company without just scrapping everything and getting rid of everything, because not all the stuff there is completely bad. I mean, they've got a lot of salvageable stuff. Now, the downside to this is that they've already got a built universe over at Fox, and if they try to integrate that, you know, some of the casual audience may get confused as to how all these properties work and fit in. So if they did a reboot, I think it would still take some time. So this may not be exactly the best route, but I do think it's, you know, definitely a good option of something that may happen. Like I said, it makes business sense, they've got people there. They don't exactly have to take their workforce from Marvel Studios to go do these. They could actually just all integrate and work together. So, you know, like I said, that may be something that happens, and maybe not. You know, maybe Disney and Marvel Studios just decides, no, we're going to scrap it all, and we're going to start all over again and do it exactly how we want to do it. And that's not a completely terrible idea. What do you think about this? Let me know down in the comments below what you think about this first theory. Now, while I do like this first theory, and I think it seems to make a lot of sense for a lot of reasons, I think my next theory is probably even better for so many more reasons. Now, I believe once they do absorb the Fox properties and begin to introduce all these characters into the MCU, scrapping all the stuff that they've already done is a good idea, because they're not going to get most of those actors to come back and reprise the roles. I think a lot of them are done playing these characters, and that's just a shame, because some of these people are actually really good. I mean, who could we get as a better Magneto than Michael Fassbender? Put that down in the comments below if you think there's somebody that could be better. Just look at the work that he has done in these movies. I mean, he's been really awesome. James McAvoy, arguably he's done really good, but I think he's replaceable. But like I said, I think Fassbender is probably the top one that will be hard to replace. And honestly, if you ask me, he's probably about the only one. And that's why I think it just makes more sense for Disney and Marvel to just completely reboot these characters and bring them into the MCU. And while it will be a lot for them to do, I think Kevin Feige's had all of these ideas in his head in the first place. And Kevin Feige has just been doing this for a long time. He knows what he's doing. He started over at Fox with the X-Men properties. He did a lot of like the Marvel cartoons and everything. So he's a producer on those, along with a lot of the producers of like the Marvel TV series and things like those. A lot of these people worked together making these cartoons and everything. They've all kind of come up together building these universes. So everything coming together just seems to make so much sense. But I do think that Kevin is going to scrap everything and start brand new. It just makes the most sense. Now, how will they do this? If you ask me, I think, so many people want to see Wolverine. Everybody's waiting for a new Wolverine. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I can tell you, you probably won't find a bigger fan of the X-Men and the Wolverine series altogether, and Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I really loved it. Back in those days, I used to do my hair up when I had hair. I used to do my hair up all like Wolverine and everything. It was, had the chops and everything. You can see I can grow that stuff in. I used to do all that, go with the whole look. So like I said, I love Wolverine. I loved all the Hugh Jackman, Wolverines. But I think they do need to get somebody else to play Wolverine. I don't want to see Hugh Jackman come back and reprise his role, and I don't think he wants to neither. If you ask me, I'm not into fan casting, but I think Jon Bernthal would make the perfect Wolverine. I've also heard names like Zac Efron tossed around out there, and I think he would be pretty good too. He's young enough, he's got the talent, he's got the chops. Dude's pretty ripped up most of the time anyway, so I think that would just make sense. But like I said, I'm not into fan casting. I'm not here for that. If we did fan casting, like I said, I'm just not really into all that, okay? Just get somebody that's good for the roles. Like I said, I think Bernthal would be perfect for this one. That's just kind of my fantasy fan cast. That's really about the only one I really have. Now, moving forward, introducing these characters into the MCU, I think some of them are easily done. A lot of people talk about R-rated properties and things like that. I honestly don't believe that they need to go anything R-rated or anything like that. It just doesn't have to happen. They've made some pretty good movies without going with the full R rating. Now, we can look at Logan as the exception, that it really did work wonders for Logan to be rated R. That really made sense. Also, Deadpool, yes, that does make sense, but I think you can tone Deadpool down in a way to get him in a PG-13 movie, just like if you ever seen any of like the Austin Powers movies where they did like a lot of, how would you say, like edgy jokes, like risque jokes, and it's just a lot of clever editing. I think they could do that with Deadpool. Now, Wolverine, it's a different story. Like I said, he's decapitating people, impaling people on them claws. You need guts, you need blood. It just kind of makes sense. Punisher, I don't think can be integrated into the MCU and be made into a PG-13 property. I simply do not think it can happen. I did think that the Netflix series, it was okay, but you know what? It just didn't quite do it for me. Like I said, to do this character justice, you need all the guns, you need all the violence, you need all the shooting, you need all the killing. They're not going to do that at Disney or Marvel Studios. I just don't see that happening, especially given the current climate in America. And like I said, it's been a while since anything's happened, but I just don't see it happening anytime soon for those reasons. Now, integrating the X-Men into the MCU, I think this is a whole other can of worms that a lot of people are talking about different ways to introduce them in, and I think a lot of people have had great ideas. We've heard things like Storm being introduced into Wakanda. That obviously just makes sense. What kind of sense doesn't that make? We've heard, stories, obviously we got Wanda Maximoff already there, and we've seen how they've kind of flirted with the mutants, the mutant thing anyway. They just didn't have the rights to do it. Now they will, and I think, there's a strong possibility we could get them to tease that in Endgame. Who knows? It's just a thought. And really all they have to do is plant a seed. The same thing that they did with, say, Captain Marvel clear back in the first Iron Man movie. Just plant a seed. That's all you have to do. It doesn't take very much to integrate these people in. Now, also integrating the X-Men into the MCU, how else are they going to do it? Now, if you ask me, and just history given, being any kind of indication, we know that they're probably not just going to introduce, like, one movie is like the X-Men, that's it. I just don't think that's going to happen, and I got several reasons why. I think their best bet is going to be exactly how they did the Avengers, is introduce certain characters into each movie. Now, you don't have to make like one character per movie into, because then they're gonna have like 6 movies before we ever get an X-Men movie. No, not like that. I'm thinking maybe, maybe like 2 good guys, maybe 1 bad guy, or 2 good guys and a couple, just like a few people in each movie. Like maybe first make like a Mystique and a Beast movie, something like that. Or, like I said, you could go with Storm and Wakanda. Something like that, small, to introduce them. You could introduce Eric, and you could introduce Professor Xavier, just kind of in the background in these movies, towards the end of these movies, as somebody that they reach out to, help control their powers, help them learn them. Obviously, I mean, just like the history of the X-Men. Now, I say you just do this, build up the characters, because that's one thing Marvel Studios has done right with a lot of these properties, is when they introduce the characters, they introduce them and you get to care about the character first before you move into the larger ensemble. And that just makes sense. Get the character to where people like them, ground them, and then move forward. You only have to do that for 1 movie. I mean, that's exactly what they did with the Avengers. And that's why I'm saying history would be the indicator here. Just make the 1 film and then move on to a next one. But you got the one, maybe you get Xavier and Eric into those, and then you move into the second movie where you have Xavier and Eric, and maybe we get introduced into another handful of characters. And you've got a handful, they add more, maybe the Xavier School for Gifted Mutants, or you know what I'm talking about. I'm just ranting right here. So don't beat me up in the comments, or you can beat me up in the comments, whatever. But let's just say they get the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters opened up in the second one, and they get more people, and then in the third one, like I said, you've got more and more people introduced. Now, the reason I think this just seems to make sense to me is because, to me, if you ask me, for every X-Men character there is their exact polar opposite in the villain or the bad guy that's in the Brotherhood of Mutants, that's basically on Eric Lencher's side, okay? And they all have compelling stories as to why they're on the side they're on. Like, they are, like Eric Lencher and Magneto, he is a bad guy, he's an antagonist in a lot of these things, but really he's really just kind of an extremist. I mean, he feels justified in the things that he does. So he's not exactly a bad guy. He's looking out for his kind. I mean, that's something that goes around in just the world as we see it today. But the thing is he's worried about protecting mutants. He's a little extreme about it all. Where Xavier, he's kind of open, to everybody living together. So like I said, when you get into these characters, there are definite reasons why each one is on the side they're on, and I think telling those stories are very compelling and will be very compelling moving forward, because as we know, it's not all the time that Magneto is always going against Xavier. Sometimes they have had to team up to defeat enemies. So it just makes sense to get all these characters grounded. You make a few movies, like 3 movies, building up all of the characters, introducing each character. You get back good rich backgrounds on all these characters, because if you do them all at once, you don't get to flesh out their histories really, and so you don't get people as attached to each character. And that is why Wolverine was so big when Fox was doing all of the X-Men properties. They went very Logan centric because he was the popular one, so they just took it and ran with it. And that was at the very beginning of most of these newer superhero movies in the first place, because let's not forget that Warner Brothers was doing like Batman and Superman and all those things back in the day, okay? Warner Brothers does have a rich history in these comic book movies, but they just haven't had all the luck that Marvel Studios has had, okay? So, like I said, I think that's one of the things that they did wrong in the first place, was they went too Logan-centric, and I think that's why I think Logan should be one of the last characters that they introduce into the Marvel Cinematic Universe as far as the X-Men. Like I said, make a few movies where they're leading up to the X-Men, make like 3 movies where they're introducing certain characters leading up to the X-Men. Like I said, you introduce certain key characters in each movie, and you can just build around them a few at a time, a few at a time. By the time you get to the 3rd one, you could have, 10, 15, 20 mutants that and have introduced. Now, you obviously wouldn't be able to flesh out and each of these characters, but you would have the few that you need to move forward and make a compelling story. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of people saying, oh, they got to put Wolverine in there. Yes, they do. But like I said, they went too Logan-centric in the first place, and everybody's gonna have so much expectation for this character. And you know, it's gonna be hard to live up to that expectation. And I think building up to it, you know, like I said, maybe introduce Logan into the third movie. Maybe that's where we start to learn about the Weapon X program, and we eventually just get him as Weapon X or Logan, or you know, any of those things. But you know, maybe they just build up to it in the third movie, and that's when they introduce him, is in the third one. And then finally the full X-Men movie, you know, the fourth one is where they go, just like, it's just like balls to the wall, man. You know, that's when they have, you know, you've got Professor Xavier completely pitted against Magneto. You've got Wolverine in there. You've got your Sabretooth. You know, you've got Cyclops. I mean, you just got the whole shebang of X-Men. It just, you know, like I said, it just seems like that makes a lot more sense. Build it up. Get people, you know, build the anticipation. Get people really psyched out about it. That's just what seems to work. And that seems to be the history of Marvel Studios. That's what they have done with the Avengers. Making character stories first. And like I said, it just seems to make sense to do it that way. Now, is there a chance that the X-Men could be in Avengers Endgame? I honestly think not. I mean, I don't really think that's possible for them to appear. Do I think that they could actually be teased? I mean, that's debatable. I mean, I think there is a really small chance that they could be teased in the movie, but that's really about it. I mean, it would probably be something like a little like maybe a word, like a mention, like just out of the side of their mouth, you know what I mean? Really like under their breath more than anything, because I can't imagine that they're really going to do anything to tease these characters in there, because like I said, they haven't acquired these properties yet. They've probably got ideas, but they can't do anything officially. So like I said, I honestly don't think that they're going to do that. I mean, like I said, there is like just the tiniest chance that they could do that, because maybe they've had ideas kicked around and they know this deal's going to be done first. They've done plenty of reshoots. So like I said, I mean, there is just the tiniest possibility that it's possible that they could be like teased in some sort of way. It would just be in the line of dialogue, if anything, and probably not even in like an end credits scene or mid credits scene or anything like that. I mean, I think if they did anything, it would just be like a little mention of a word, you know, in a sentence or something like that. Maybe towards the end of the movie after everything's getting resolved. It's, you know, it's really hard to say, but I honestly don't think it's gonna happen. But what do you all think? Do you think there's any possible chance that the X-Men could be teased at all in the movie? I mean, like I said, I think it's possible, but let me know what you all think down in the comments below. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the 2nd Street Marvel today. Before I let you all go, I want to tell you all about the Mountain Man Nut and Fruit Company. The Mountain Man Nut and Fruit Company are the purveyors of fine nuts, dried fruits, and chocolates. You can follow the link down in the description where you can shop from hundreds of items. One of my favorite items here is the gummy grapefruit, and you know, I love these things. They got a good flavor. They're kind of sweet. You can see they've got like a little sugar coating on there, kind of like a little sour. You know, they're really good. You know, and if you know me, I'm a sucker for gummy stuff. Follow the link down in the description. You can choose from hundreds of items to have delivered straight to your door. And if you order chocolate or anything like that during the hot months of the year, they do have like options where you can get ice packs and things like that, so your meltable items will not melt. Also down in the description are some links for Vigilantes for Children, where you can follow them on their social media sites, or even check out their store where you can buy shirts, hats, even little koozies for your beer, your soda, and you know, follow them on their social media site and show support for their cause. Now, as I said, I will be doing a giveaway soon, so make sure you check out my live show, the Trailer Park Live, which is live here every single Friday night at 8 p.m. And I do my comic book pull list, and I interact with you viewers, and it's just a really good time. Sometimes we go for about an hour, you know, it's gone on longer a couple of times, but you should tune in for that, as after my comic book pull list, I usually do introduce a question to be answered. So you should tune in this Friday and check out that video and see if you can answer the question correctly. And if you can answer the question correctly, you could win this Wasp Pop. Like I said, tune in to my show, The Trailer Park Live, where I will ask the question that you can answer to get entered into a chance to win items like these, or just other different things that I will be doing here on this channel. Thank you all so much for tuning into the 2nd Street Marvel today. Now make sure you're subscribed and click the little bell so you get notifications anytime we have uploaded new content. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And while you're at it, go ahead and follow us on out the various social media sites, and make sure you share this video with a friend and tell them to come hang out with us here on 2nd Street. Have a great day.
Rather drink, I get off on pushing my